And welcome back to more Sonic Generations. Last time, we completed more City Escape challenges, so this time we're starting out with the remaining challenges here. As usual, we're starting out by collecting this Got Song, Unquivify, from Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Alright, so let's head over here for another Doppelganger challenge. So, I really like City Escape if it wasn't already obvious, and am totally fine with getting another opportunity to play through it again. Our S-rank time is 3 minutes, which I don't know if we'll actually make that or not. I forgot what time we got last time. By the way, you can also land on the power lines and use them as grind rails, which is very cool. I don't think this is actually very fast, but this is needed for certain red rings. Some of those are the ones I really don't like to collect because they're so difficult to actually get to. Some require very precise positioning with jumps to actually reach. Alright, so now that we're down here, since we just got a lot of Sonic Riders songs, I suppose this isn't a bad time to talk a little bit about Sonic Riders, because I still haven't done a playthrough of that game, even though I would like to, both the first game and Zero Gravity, to be precise. I really like the Sonic Riders games, even though I actually originally hated the first game, mainly because it has a very high learning curve, and teenage me got very frustrated by how challenging the game was. Looking back, it actually makes me feel a little bit better that a lot of people go through that same struggle with that game, so it's not just me. So yeah, the game in general is pretty difficult to get the hang of, and once you do though, it's actually pretty fun. So, Zero Gravity is a lot easier, I think. Like, the track design and the overall, like, mechanics are a lot more straightforward, which in some ways is good to be less intimidating to newcomers, but also leads to less strategy for, like, returning players. And then there's Sonic Free Riders for the Xbox 360 Kinect, which I have never played because I heard it was terrible. I used to own a Kinect, actually. It came with my Xbox, but I never actually played a Kinect game. I tried to calibrate it, and frankly my room is very small, so it didn't exactly work out very well, so I sold it. In hindsight, I probably should have kept it, just for the sole purpose of doing, like, Kinect Let's Plays. Like, a Free Riders blind Let's Play, at least for a one-off, at least would have been kind of fun, but oh well. This section is really cool, as ridiculous as it is, that the gun truck just has giant saw blades on it now. It technically is supposed to be pronounced G-U-N, according to Sonic 06, but then again, the rest of Sonic 06 isn't canon either, so maybe that should be taken with a grain of salt. That's also weird why 06 is actually included, because it was actually erased from the timeline, inside of Sonic 06, oddly enough, so it is kind of weird that it is in this game as a result, but it makes sense. It was a core Sonic game. Barely missed it. Alright, this is, you got artwork 107. So our final challenge is right here. Cream, Helping Hand. The only rings are the ones Cream drops for you. Get to the goal in time.
I'll help you with the rings, Mr. Sonic. Press the Y button if you need me. Press the Y button.
You know, one thing I actually haven't talked about much in this playthrough is characters. Like, I really haven't talked much about my thoughts on each character that appears. Cream the Rabbit is kind of a weirdly unpopular character from like a characterization standpoint, it feels like, but in terms of gameplay, she's actually really popular in Sonic Advance because she actually tears through bosses. basically cheese. Her Chao is used as a projectile in those games and tears through boss battles. But in terms of her actual character, I usually don't hear much positive about Cream, which is kind of a shame. I think she's an okay character. Most Sonic characters I feel like are relatively okay. There are very few that I actually think are legitimately annoying. Like, I'm even fine with like Big the Cat to some extent, even though he's definitely towards the bottom of my list of like favorite Sonic characters. My overall favorite Sonic characters are Tails for the classic era and Blaze for the modern era. So, in general, I even don't dislike Silver as much because, frankly, I feel bad that his debut was in Sonic Rivals and Sonic 06, neither of which were popular games, and that kind of permanently messed up the character's overall reception, even though he's not really that terrible of a character. Though, to be fair, he doesn't really have a character because of how little he appears. We haven't used any rings. That was actually a really good run. Got Song, Free. That is the opening song of Sonic Freeriders. Makes sense, based on the name. So we have another challenge up here that's kind of remote. So we might actually take care of this one with both modern and classic. Underwater Challenge. Keep a watchful eye on the underwater terrain and get to the goal in time. Okay, this sounds actually terrible. I do not like underwater levels in Sonic, just because of reduced mobility and also fear of drowning. So yeah, this isn't great. And ironically, as I'm talking about Sonic characters, I was going to talk about Amy next, and how, in general, a lot of people don't really like the character of Amy either, and she's not like my favorite or anything, but even Amy, I think, isn't too terrible in most games. Some games overdo the love struck towards Sonic bit a little bit too much, but for the most part, I feel like Amy isn't that terrible. I think Heroes is really the peak of it, and a little bit of 06 as well. But beyond those games, like in this game, they definitely play around with the idea of Amy being really, really flirty, but yeah, for the most part, a lot of the games really don't, actually. And like, Sonic Boom's version of Amy doesn't really give off that impression, and that's probably why that version of the character is actually extremely popular. Aesthetically, I actually really like the Boom designs. Other than the really lanky proportions, like on paper, I actually really like Tails' design with like the like mechanic gear to kind of help to give him more of a visual identity, I guess. And I kind of wish they had gone with that for the movie. In general, like with Sonic having blue arms like in Boom, I kind of feel like the movie designs kind of feel a lot like the Boom designs. And that's why I kind of wish Tails had stuck closer to the Boom design. I just realized, should I be talking about this? Not everyone has seen the movie. Oh well. I think it's actually one of those things that's fairly well known, so my bad, but also I feel like even as someone who hasn't seen the movie, even I'm aware of Tails appearing. Also, now that Knuckles is rumored to appear, curious to see how his movie design will be. You got artwork 108. High-speed hijinks. Enemies move and shoot at double speed. Try to get to the goal in time. So I'm realizing something. As I'm talking about this, I keep kind of starting each description with, you know what, this character gets a lot of hate, but I think they're actually okay. That's definitely a pattern, because I was about to be like, yeah, I think Shadow is kind of overhated, and then it's like, I've been saying this about every character, which I think says a lot about Sonic character popularity, that basically every character is somewhat disliked at this point, beyond like some of the core characters. Yeah, in general, maybe it's because I've grown up with these games, I'm mostly fine with most of the cast members. I obviously have my favorites, and ironically, Sonic is not my favorite character. I feel like Sonic used to be, but in general, I feel like Tails is more interesting as kind of like the underdog, specifically with like the adventure games, as an example. While Sonic being kind of the very confident hero isn't necessarily as inherently interesting. And frankly, a later game kind of made me like Sonic a little bit less. Since I'm probably not likely to do a Let's Play of it anytime soon, I am talking about Sonic Lost World, for the record. I do not like Sonic's characterization in that game because of how bad it is, to be blunt. So, if I want to take care of these challenges, I think I might wait for this. Got Song, Live and Learn from Sonic Adventure 2. Alright, let's try the modern challenge here. Terror from the Deep. Skim the water's surface and try not to get chomped by the giant chopper. Get to the goal in time. This level gives me mild Atabat flashbacks, and I can't decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest. You'll probably see what I mean in a little bit. But yeah, in general, Lost World's main problem for me is its writing. I think Sonic's writing in particular is pretty bad, actually. Eggman is still good, as usual, but like, Sonic and Tails' writing both are actually pretty all over the place. Also, I like how in the pre-final boss cutscene, they showed Eggman going through that portal and leaving Orbot and Cubot behind, which, I'll be honest, I totally don't mind their exclusion from this plotline, because I really don't care for those characters. They're kind of like overly like grading comic relief type characters, and I feel like they were really overused in like Colors, as an example. That's another thing I was thinking about, speaking of Colors, is one thing that's actually nice about this game is having only 2 acts, and then a bunch of side challenges, making it easier to remember things. What I mean by that is, you got Artwork 109, but what I meant by that is, I feel like with, other, like Sonic Colors, that game has a problem with having, so many zones that it's actually hard to keep them all straight. Like, I often forget, which zone is which because there are so many of them, but this game only having 2 main acts makes it much easier to remember, like, key moments. So we have another doppelganger race. I was also thinking about it, and as much as I like modern Seaside Hill, I'm not really a big fan of classic Seaside Hill. Mostly because of like the underwater, kind of almost like Marble Zone or Hydro City flashbacks. So yeah, in general, I do like a lot of the modern stages better. Maybe also because of there being fewer modern Sonic games at this point. so things like this are a little bit more novel than like just pure side-scrolling. The doppelganger is doing a great job of keeping up with us. I'm actually a little bit nervous about that. Oh yeah, characters that I haven't talked about yet include Chaotix, and I honestly don't really like Chaotix very much, and it's partly just because they don't really get much to do in Sonic games. So they're kind of like... Again, they're kind of like comic relief characters, and not particularly successful examples, I'd say. But in general, even Chaotix I feel like I'm more okay with than like a lot of Sonic fans who really dislike Chaotix. But yeah, that definitely seems to be like a pattern of like, oh yeah, this character that people dislike, I'm fine with them, but that applies to most of the cast of characters. I think it's partly because I started with the 3D games, so I'm used to having really big casts, and also, I started with games like Heroes fairly early on. This wasn't my first, obviously, but I definitely played Heroes fairly early on, so I'm kind of used to like the quirks of different cast members that may seem a little bit more grating if you started with like the original cast as an example. One thing that hasn't really come up is actually camera control, and frankly, the lack thereof, because you can't really rotate the camera, which is kind of annoying actually, if I'm being honest. There are times where I really wish I could rotate the camera, but I can't, so it's kind of like a blind jump. It's normally not too bad though, but it is kind of frustrating at times. Who else? I'm trying to think of any other Sonic characters that I haven't named. Like, there's Rouge the Bat. I'm okay with that character. She's, again, not exactly a favorite, but, she's cool. Same with Shadow. Just kind of in that, they're cool, but not like, you know, top tier. In general, I feel like, Sonic fans tend to be divided into two camps regarding how many characters there are, either sort of embrace that, or, just slim down the cast to, like, core characters. I personally like when they have a lot of Sonic's, supporting cast, because I like a lot of these characters to varying degrees, or am okay with them for the most part. So I kind of dislike when they start trimming down the casts a lot, like with Colors. That's one thing I actually like the DS version of Colors more, because they actually do have more of the characters show up, and I actually prefer that. They're not major roles, but it's nice to see like familiar faces in that version, even if briefly. We've been doing such a great job in this playthrough of barely missing out on S ranks for challenges, it's getting kind of ridiculous at this point. I think we still have quite a few challenges left here, so we'll start tackling those other challenges next time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Sonic Generations.